Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a very auspicious Shabbos we're going to be having. We are going to be taking out 3 Torahs, which we do very rarely during the year. From the first Torah, we'll read 6 Aliyahs in the Parsha of Mishpatim. The last Aliyah will be for the 6th and 7th Aliyah. And then for the 7th Aliyah, we will read from Rosh Chodesh, and then the Mafter will be for Shkolim, because it's Shabbos Parsha Shkolim also. So we take 3 separate Torahs out for these 3 different events. And it's a very auspicious Shabbos. It's both the Shabbos of Shkolim, as I said, but it's also Rosh Chodesh, Chodesh Adar. And the month of Adar is an auspicious month. As we know, that the holiday of Purim comes out in Adar. As our sages tell us, Mishanichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha, when Adar comes, happiness increases, because of the month of Adar is such a happy holiday, happy month rather, because of the holiday of Purim. We know that the Jewish year is based on the lunar calendar, not the solar. But the lunar calendar cannot be always so exacting, so it needs, every couple of years, it needs an extra month to balance it out. And the sages have chosen the month of Adar. What better month than the month of Adar to increase? So we should have 2 Adars. This year is only 1. But every once in a while we have 2 Adars. And this, of course, increases the joy and the happiness felt. This Parsha of Shkolim is the 4th of the Parshas that we read before Passover. Next week we will be reading Parsha Zachor, which recounts about Amalek. We read that before Purim. And then the next Parsha is Parshas Para, which talks about the Para Duma, the red heifer that was slaughtered and burnt, and its ashes were used to purify people. And then finally is Shabbos Chodesh, the Shabbos just before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, in which Passover takes place. There is also Shabbos HaGadol, but Shabbos HaGadol is not one of the 4 Parshas. There is no Mafter associated with it. And while there is a special Haftorah, many people don't say that Haftorah, except under certain circumstances. So there are really 4 Parshiot that are before Pesach, and each one of them is significant as it comes along with Pesach, as it applies to Pesach. The Parsha of Shkolim has to do with the giving tzedakah, giving charity, and it has to do with the communal offerings. The shkalim were used for the communal offerings in the temple, as well as the adanim, the sockets for the Mishkan. And this is connected with Pesach, because the idea of giving tzedakah, giving charity before the holiday, is auspicious. Then it's Parsha Zachar, which recounts the war with Amalek, again with fighting Amalek and fighting the Yetzer Hara before Pesach, etc. So the rabbis talk a great deal about these things and the significance of these things, and I'd encourage you to go and take a look at these things. This week's Torah portion, this week's Parsha is Parsha of Shkolim, as I mentioned. And the Rebbe said a very interesting Sikha on Shabbos Nevarchim Adar, Parsha Mishpatim, in 1985. And he talked about the interesting idea of the half a shekel. We are told that God commanded that the Jewish people should give a half a shekel, and it says l'chaper kol avodosechem, and it is a kapara for your souls. The kaper es nafshosechem, to atone for your souls. Moshe asked God, what does that mean? How does a coin atone for our souls? So God, according to the Midrash, God put a coin of fire, a matbeya shel eish, in the heavens. He took from his throne, his holy throne, a fiery coin, and he showed Moshe, and he said, "This is what I mean. Well, the Rebbe has several questions on this. What is going on over here? First of all, does Moshe need to be known a coin of fire? God said, everybody should give a half a coin. So fine, they'll give a half a coin. Everybody knows what a coin looks like. A matbeya, a coin. What's the big deal? But why does it have to be fire? What was the fieriness of it? What was the significance? A coin is made out of silver. And that's it. What does it need to be made shown that it should be fire? And furthermore, the Rebbe asks, how is it giving this coin a kapara, an atonement for one's soul? What's the significance of that? So the Rebbe brings out the idea that Moshe was not stupid. Moshe understood full well that when you do a mitzvah, not just the half a shekel, but any mitzvah, there's a reward associated with it. You do a mitzvah, and it is, to a certain degree, causes an atonement for your soul. There are many things in Judaism which are a kapara. As they say, we know, of course, the greatest is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim, like an atonement. It's a day of atonement. And it atones for sins that we did. But there are other kapparas also. They say, for example, that for the generation. And when someone very pious in general passes away, we say in Yiddish, Zozana kapara. It should be a kapara. A kapara means an atonement. That for anything we did wrong, this should forgive it. So certainly mitzvahs in general can be kaparas. They can be atonements. That when we do a mitzvah, we are rewarded in various ways. We don't do the mitzvah for the reward, but it does give a reward. And certainly it gives. So how is a half a shekel any greater a reward than any other mitzvah, for that matter? They're all pretty much the same as far as that's concerned. And what about the idea of the fire? What's the nature of the fire? He says, on one hand, if all spiritual apparitions are in the form of fire, as we find in many cases, when they emphasize a fire, if, on the other hand, Moshe could have been shown a coin of silver, as he was shown in actual models of the Mishkan, then what was the whole point of it being a fire? What was the significance? So the Rebbe brings out several ideas, the concept of fire. Fire, first of all, is an analogy, a metaphor for godliness. Fire is, of all of the physical things, it's probably the most spiritual. For example, fire is very elusive. You can pass your hand through fire. You might get burnt, but you pass your hand through fire. It has no substance to it. On the other hand, fire is very physical. We cook with it. We warm ourselves with it. It is very physical, and it makes our physical life much easier. So it has both of those components. On one hand, it's very physical. On the other hand, it has a spiritual dimension to it. We light Shabbos candles, Hanukkah candles, Yortzei candles. The idea of the fire, the candle, is that it's the Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. The soul, the candle of God is compared to the soul of man. That fire and candles represent a certain level of holiness, whether it's the soul of a person or whatever. So the idea of fire is that it's a very lofty thing. So what is God showing Moshe? By displaying this coin of fire, what he's doing is he's showing that the nature of the mitzvah, of this particular mitzvah, is that it ignites a level of holiness, of enthusiasm, of warmth, of heat in the performance of the mitzvah. That when a Jew gives this half a shekel, they should do it with enthusiasm and with passion. Well, the idea of the coin is quite different than the idea of fire. A coin, it comes from silver. Silver comes from the earth. It's mined down below. It is the most basic things. We know there are 4 levels of existence. There's domim, which is inanimate objects like silver and gold, stone. Tzomeach, which is plant life, things that grow. There is chai, which is life, like animals. And there is medaber, those that speak, namely man. Those 4 levels. Domim, the lowest level, is indeed like a coin. One of the highest levels is the level of spirituality of fire. Fire is higher than anything. Fire soars above. Fire goes beyond the world. Fire always is trying to connect itself to its source in vitality above. So the idea of fire is that when we do a mitzvah, we should do it with passion. We should do it with enthusiasm. And the idea of the half a coin is the idea of giving tzedakah, giving away something that belongs to us, something that's precious to us, something that's special to us. And it's interesting that it's only a half a coin, not a full coin. So the rabbis explain that the half a coin means that your half a coin, together with my half a coin, make 1 coin, and therefore we become united in the performance of mitzvahs because your coin is not good enough unless it has my coin associated with it. So the 2 of them together. But on a higher level than that, we say that a coin is something that we earned, something that belongs to us, something which is very, very physical. In fact, there's nothing really more physical than money. There's an expression, money is the source of all evil, that all kinds of sins and problems come about as a result of money. People sin in so many ways, mostly because of money. They're fighting over money, they're arguing over money. Money is really indeed the source of so much evil in the world and so much sorrow in the world. Most of the people who are in jails today are in jail because of some sort of a money issue. They stole, they embezzled. Certainly in our parsha this week, we read about bribing judges, for example, called shochet in Hebrew. And what is bribery? Bribery is giving a judge money so that he will determine the case according to the way you want to determine it. And we say of bribery that a bribe makes a judge blind. He is blind to justice because of the money that's put in his pocket. And even if he doesn't even know that's in his pocket, but the fact is that someone put it in his pocket, perhaps in the cloakroom, they put some money into the judge's pocket so that he should see the case in the way they want to see it. And this itself, there's stories about that he can be swayed to go in that way rather than in the proper way that he really should go. So again, money can have an incredible effect on people, and it can lead to the downfall and destruction of so many good people. It can lead to the destruction of marriages. It can separate children from their families. We know that many children of very wealthy people ended up fighting terribly over the inheritance, and it led to their downfall. We know the people who won tremendous amounts of money in the lottery ended up destroyed because of that money. It caused friction among families and all kinds of terrible things, and in many cases even death, because of the money, the vast amounts of money that they were given. So money can be a terrible, terrible thing. On the other hand, money can also be used for good. By giving money away, by giving tzedakah, by raising money for institutions and for poor people, money can do a tremendous amount of good and help a lot of people as well. We just recently lost several very prominent people in the Jewish community, among them Sheldon Adelson, who gave a phenomenal amount of money to charities. We know his political work, but besides that, he gave a vast amount of money to charities. In Las Vegas, the Jewish day schools are able to take children at a fraction of the amount of money that they need because of his generosity. And so many Jewish kids are able to go to Jewish day schools as a result of that. Hundreds of thousands of Jewish people went on the birthright programs to Israel because of his generosity. And how many of them ended up marrying Jewish people and having Jewish lives and all kinds of things because of that kind of generosity. So that money that he gave had such a valuable, such a fruitful source to it, and such a fruitful result to it that is phenomenal. So money can be a tremendously useful tool in the performance of goodness. And indeed, to ransom, as we mentioned before, that it was a ransom for your soul, it can indeed be a tremendous ransom for your soul. But as we said, it can also be a disaster. It all depends how it is used. So God showed Moshe a coin of fire and declared, this is what they must give. When a Jew gives a half a shekel, the coin itself becomes a flaming metal, not just on account of the accompanying giver, but it also becomes a coin of fire. So let's try to understand what is meant by this idea of a coin of fire. So, we mentioned before that Moshe's question revolved around the concept that logically there was no relationship between the half a shekel and the ransom, the soul ransom, because money itself is the lowest of all material objects, and at the same time is the highest, can be the highest of all objects as well. It all depends how it is used. You know, God puts money in our pocket for us to give away, not for us to keep, but for us to give away. The half a shekel represents half for God, chetzi lachem v'chetzi l'Shem. Half of it for God and half of it for you. Indeed, we are supposed to have money, and we're supposed to keep that half a shekel, that money in our pocket, and to spend it wisely and to do good things with it. We give money to the poor, we give money to Torah scholars and to yeshivas and synagogues, but we are also supposed to keep money for ourselves and spend the money ourselves wisely. I have a friend who inherited a business from his father who passed away, and every poor person, every institution would come to him for a donation. So many came to him for a donation that he literally lost his business. He went poor. He had no more money left for himself or his family or for his business. He had to let go his employees. He had to declare bankruptcy from his business, and he ended up taking charity. Is this a wise move? Of course not. He remembered the half a shekel to the others, but he forgot the half a shekel to himself. That we need as well to take care of ourselves and not to go become poor ourselves. And that's a very, very important lesson to be learned as well. The Midrash says, according to the Midrash, it says, when God created the world, he decreed the heavens are the heavens of the Lord, but the earth was given to the children of men. Yet, when he was about to give the Torah, he rescinded the first decree and said, those are below shall ascend to those on high, while those who are on high shall ascend to those below. And I will begin, as it were, and the Lord came down on Mount Sinai. So when the Torah was given, Moshe below went up, God came down, and materialism and spirituality joined together. We talked about this before. But the idea is that materialism didn't go away. Materialism still remained. But our job is to transform materialism and make the world into a godly place. A wealthy man once came to the Rebbe and said to the Rebbe he feels bad spending all his time in business. He wants to go back to yeshiva, and he wants to study all day and give up the business. And this man was a very generous benefactor. The Rebbe said to him, what you do, you take gashmias, you take physicality, and you make it into holiness. That's what you do. So you should not give up the gashmias. You should not give up the materialism, because your materialism is very, very valuable. It's a very valuable thing, and you should continue doing it, and you should continue using it. It says, but it seems illogical that such an antithetical objects, money and the soul, they're so opposite, can consummate spiritual and ultimate physical, can really be related. How is that possible, that physical and spiritual can actually be related? And the answer is with everything else in the world. In the world, according to Kabbalah, there's concepts called klipas noga, which is material objects which are neither holy nor unholy. They're parav, they're mixed, such as, for example, a table or a shoe or any other physical object. It's not holy by itself, but when we transform it, when we use it for a holy purpose, when we walk to shul with that shoe, or when we pray using a book, a siddur, or we study Torah on a table, we raise up that physical object, and we make that physical object into a holy object, for sure. Again, the half a shekel offering did indeed do that. By the Jewish people giving their half a shekels, they raised it up, and they made it into something holy. So it is the union, actually, of two opposites that we talk about: the physical and the spiritual. Now, the Rebbe says that the half a shekel is not called a statute. It's not called a chok. As we see, the Torah continues by stating they will not be stricken by a plague. If so, there should be some logical explanation for this quandary. Apparently, the mitzvah of half a shekel should somehow fit into the system of Torah development, not as a statute. Hence, this question to God: how can we make a physical object, such as a coin, into something very, very holy? So he says, the Holy One, blessed be He, took what resembled a coin of fire from beneath the throne of glory and showed it to Moshe. It wasn't really a coin at all. It was an image in heaven. This shall they give, namely, they shall give a coin that resembles this one. And when a Jew gives charity, when they give a coin, when they put a coin into a charity box, that coin becomes a coin of fire. It becomes, as the Rebbe says, an explosive moment of fusion where physical and spiritual come together in a very powerful way. So he says, when God showed Moshe the coin of fire, that was the explosive moment of fusion. Before, it was only a theory. There could be a coin and it could unite with fire. But when God actually brought that coin out and showed Moshe what could be done with that coin, then it became very, very powerful and incredibly holy. According to halacha, if you take a coin out of your pocket and you designate that coin as charitable, I'm going to put that coin into the pushka. But on the way to the pushka, you change your mind. You say, oh, you know what? I just remembered I need that coin. I need to put that coin into the laundromat or whatever it may be. I'm going to need it. You can't do that. You've already designated the coin for charity. The coin already becomes a matbeya shel esh. It becomes a coin of fire. It's not yours anymore. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the tzedakah box. It belongs to God. It has become already a spiritual thing. It's lost, in many respects, its physical designation. It's a very holy object now. So we see that the nature of the coin is that the coin rises up and it becomes something very, very holy and something very special. The Rebbe finishes this particular sikha by explaining what happens to the other half. The other half, we say only give a half a shekel, a matzis a shekel, half a shekel. So he says, another point comes to mind from the fact that the first fiery coin was half a shekel. After giving the half a shekel, the other half remains in his possession, but is still related to the half given to tzedakah, so that together they make a holy shekel. So the half a shekel that we give to tzedakah is connected still to the half a shekel that is in our pocket. They're two related. The Jew does not give away all he has to charity, but rather he gives 10% or 20%. Whatever remains within his possession is also uplifted by the 1/10 or 1/5 given away. So the amount of money that remains with him also becomes holy. The part given and uplifted together with his remaining part are included in the one whole. His half is also a coin of fire. So the half that remains with you also is a coin of fire. But why? Because it's connected to the coin that you gave for tzedakah. And after all, they're both halves. You can't do much with one half, but together they become one. So the money that we keep is connected spiritually with the money that we gave. So therefore, what does it do? It gives blessings to us. It gives a tremendous blessing to us, so that the money that we have is blessed also, as well as the money that we give. Many years ago, there was a very great benefactor to so many Jewish causes in San Diego, Mr. Moshe Steinman, Moshe Yitzchak Steinman, Alav Shalom, who did so many wonderful things for the Jewish community. And Mr. Steinman always used to say that the money he gave to tzedakah, he benefits from. It's not that he's giving it away, but rather he's getting benefit from it as well, through the blessings that are attached to it. He's getting it. And of course, he was a very successful man, a very wealthy man. He did a tremendous amount of good. But he always claimed that it was because it was in the merit of the tzedakah that he gave. So we can give away that money to charity, but the remaining money that remains in our pocket is also blessed in the merit of the money that we gave. So that not only the sanctuary becomes a dwelling place for godliness from the money that we give towards the sanctuary, but the dwelling place of the Jew and all his ways and deeds become holy, providing a dwelling place for the Shekhinah, for God's divine presence. 2 halves of the fiery coin, which makes a whole shekel. So the fact is that when a Jew gives tzedakah, they are not just giving things away, but they are actually benefiting as well from the charity they're giving. They are, as we say, you get more than you give, or as much as you give, that's how much you get. That tzedakah is something that we benefit from. It's the only mitzvah that we can give that we can actually expect a reward from God. We can say, God, I'm going to give this tzedakah, and I expect a reward for it. I need something for it, whether it's children, sustenance, health, whatever it may be. I'm giving this tzedakah, but I need help as well. And in the merit of my charity, therefore, I'm giving it. The Jewish people are known for many qualities, and one of the qualities is Rahmanis. We have pity. We're a very charitable nation. In fact, if you know of a Jew who is not very charitable, you have to question if they're Jewish or not. They might be miserly. It means they may not be Jewish, or they're giving tzedakah quietly, which is the greatest way to give. But if they're not giving, you question their yichus. You question if they're Jewish at all, because it's not the nature of Jews to be miserly. It's not who we are. A Jew helps another Jew. We help, and not only other Jews, we help everybody. Jewish people are in the forefront of all the charities in the world. Even non-Jewish charities that are even specifically non-Jewish charities, Jews are benefactors. I would imagine if you go and find some of the leading contributors to, for example, St. Vincent de Paul, the homeless shelters, or Catholic Charities, or any of the major charities in the city, I think you'll probably find Jewish people in a much higher percentage of our numbers give generously to even those charities, never mind Jewish charities. I was looking at a list recently of major Jewish backers, and it was amazing that they gave away actually a tremendous amount of their money to non-Jewish charities as well, because everyone benefits from it, because it's the nature of a Jew to give charity. Tzedakah is the nature of a Jew. We say tzedakah tatzil mimavos. Tzedakah saves us from death. What death? Our own death. Tzedakah makes us better people. It gives us meaning and purpose in this world. And indeed, the fire that comes by giving the charity happens. It happens in so many different ways. In terms of children having health and nachas from our children, in terms of parnasa, having success and a good livelihood for our families and our community, and gesund, health. It also helps us with our health and can make us actually better, as is the custom that when a person is ill, when a person needs something, they increase their giving of tzedakah, and this helps them a tremendous amount. When I go fundraising, I go to people and they tell me very often, they say, Rabbi, I more than I'm helping you, you're helping me, because you are causing for me a tremendous mitzvah to happen as a result of the money that is going to your cause. So indeed, tzedakah helps all of us. So when Moshe was shown that coin in heaven, he was shown something very profound. He was shown the power of a mitzvah, not just tzedakah, but every mitzvah. The power of doing a mitzvah spiritually. And what happens as a result of it. We don't see it sometimes ourselves. We don't see sparks and lightning and thunder coming out when we do a mitzvah. But it happens. It happens. When a Jew puts on tefillin, fire is created from that tefillin, spiritual fire. When a woman lights Shabbos candles or bakes challah and takes challah from the dough or goes to mikveh, there is a tremendous spiritual upheaval that is happening. A fire is created as a result of the mitzvah that she is doing. Many times we don't see that fire, but indeed it happens as well. It happens. So the fact is that we should all be encouraged to do more tzedakah, give more tzedakah, do more mitzvahs as well. So let me just share with you a short idea dealing with the month of Adar. As we said earlier, Adar is an auspicious month. The holiday of Purim comes in Adar. Adar is a holiday of great simcha, of great happiness. And happiness is a component of Jewish life. We are told, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. Serve God in happiness and in joy. If a Jew is not serving God in happiness, there is something lacking in their service to God. If the mitzvahs are being done without joy, without happiness, they won't last. I'm telling you, they will not last. If we raise our children sternly and strictly and teach them, but don't teach them with love and with passion and with warmth, we will lose them. They will not continue in the way of Torah and mitzvahs. Only if children are shown the way of joy and happiness will they continue that way as well. We devote one entire month to happiness and to increasing happiness during this month. On Purim, we go crazy. We just dance and we sing and we dress up and we have Purim parties. This year, certainly because of the virus, we will be toning down our celebrations of Purim. But certainly, Purim is a wonderfully happy day. And the idea of Purim is that the happiness of Purim should continue during the rest of the year as well. You know, in the Chabad movement, certainly in Hasidism, and the Baal Shem Tov taught this so often, so much, how important it is to be enthusiastic and to be joyful in the performance of mitzvahs. Because if we are not, then it won't continue. It can't happen. Who wants to do something that you're doing it in a begrudging way? You're not happy, you're not joyous about it. Who needs that? Who wants to do that? Certainly not me, and I'm sure not you either. So the mitzvahs need to be observed through great joy and happiness. And how do we do that? How do we get happiness? First of all, by calming down, by emphasizing more the idea of the joy of the mitzvah and less on all the exact stipulations and the halachas of doing the mitzvah. The great Kotzker Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Kotzker, who was the forerunner of the Polish Hasidic dynasties, used to say that the opponents of the Hasidic movement serve the code of Jewish law, the Shulchan Aruch. They follow the code of Jewish law. He said, follow God. That's who I follow. The code of Jewish law, with all of its details and regulations and stipulations, is merely the tool to show us how to reach God, how to serve God. We need to be more concerned about dairy and meat Jews and less about dairy and meat vessels and pots and pans. Certainly it's important to know about dairy and meat pots and pans, but more than that, we need to be concerned about Jews and about how the Jews are and how the Jews are acting. So we need that love, and we need that spirit and that joyousness. And I think the holiday of Purim, and certainly the month of Adar, gives that to all of us. So I'd like to hope and pray and wish for all of you that it should be a very joyous Adar. We take out 3 Torahs this Shabbos, as I mentioned, emphasizing the idea of the joy of the holiday, not just 1 Torah, not just 2, but 3 Torahs. And we should celebrate with them. It should be a joyous occasion for them. And then we know that 1 month to the day after Purim comes the holiday of Pesach. Pesach this year will be very challenging, as it was last year. There will not be great parties or large Pesach Seders that many synagogues and Chabad houses do, as we usually do. It'll be toned down a great deal. But we'll have an opportunity this year of coming closer to family, closer to close friends, and to really make this Pesach a very, very joyous and a very, very meaningful one as never before. So I want to wish you all a good Shabbos, a good Chodesh, and we'll speak to you next week. Shalom. All set.
Skach.
Okay, be well.
Thank you.